Good morning, everybody. I'm Larry Weissoon. If you enjoy real-world hunting and fishing talk, you're really going to enjoy listening to my good friend, Luke Clayton, and his guest for the next hour.
This is David Fox, and welcome to Outdoors with Luke Clayton and Friends. Luke has been a recognized outdoors writer for the past 3 decades and writes for a host of outdoor publications. Luke pens a weekly newspaper outdoors column that appears in over 40 Texas newspapers. Luke is on the pro staff of Pyramyd Air, your one-stop shop for everything air gun related. Smokin Tex electric smokers and AGM Global Vision, maker of an awesome line of thermal hunting scopes and spotters. Feel free to contact Luke through his website, catfishradio.org. Now let's join Luke and his guests for this week's show.
Well, thank you, guys, and this is old Luke Clayton, and Mr. Larry Weissoon is with us. Larry, I hope this is going to be a very happy new year for you, and I just know that it's going to be.
I think we're already off to an absolutely fabulous start. Of course, wish everybody out there the happiest new year, and you know, I'm meeting you here in just a little while.
I know.
For a whitetail hunt up there in your part of the world on a hunt that you set up. And, you know, you and I spent a fair amount of time on the Cotton Ranch, and I've got some hunts planned there still before the end of that MLD season is over with. And But really looking forward to this afternoon, and well, don't tell them what, we'll see where we're going.
You know, Larry, Don Gresham up there, I met Don years back. He has a company called Going Fencing, and hog traps all over the southeast. He's been at a lot of the outdoor shows through the years. Most of them he's been present, but he was one of the first people that I met. Don was that that set up the cell phone activated camera traps. You know, the camera that works with the camera systems, and he was a cutting edge on that. And he's got a place, ranch up near the Red River, or Forestburg up in there. It's known for big deer. I mean, there's
that area is. Yes, sir.
So I'll meet you up there later this afternoon. We'll have just a little short hunt there, and enjoy. I think Cable Smith that does a great outdoor radio show. Yes. We both have known Cable for a good while, years, you know. And I think he's going to try to get loose. Cable will be with us, we'll see what happens. It's hard to predict what's going to happen on a little short hunt like that. But Don told me there's some good bucks roaming up there now, and we know one thing for sure: we'll have a good time. You know.
So we will, and of course I'm sure we'll be on some food sources, or creating our own food sources with VINEYARDMAX.
We will that for sure.
Sent some up there early, already up there for us. So we really appreciate those guys, the VINEYARDMAX guys. I'll tell you what, that attractant works like better than a charm. And of course, I'm thrilled, like you are, to be involved with them and being able to utilize their product, and appreciate the fact too that they sell my knives. But as soon as we leave there, I'm leaving there. I'm driving to Atlanta, Georgia, for the DSC convention that'll run from the 9th through the 12th there at the World Congress Center in Atlanta. And I know that's going to be a fabulous, fabulous event. I've talked to so many people who are going to be there, and look forward to spending time too. And of course, Hornady is going to be there. I'm sure that Steve and Jason Hornady will probably be there at their booth, and really appreciate them being one of our sponsors. And then of course, with the guns that I'm going to be shooting, I've got a Mossberg in a 7mm PRC that's topped with a Stealth Vision scope that I'm going to be hunting with up there. And again, sponsors, but the great friends, and I'll tell you what, that was going to be a fun hunt, and I know that we're going to be doing. But also, like I said, I'll get to see pretty much all those guys at the DSC convention, and it'll be a good opportunity for any of our listeners, whether they're there as a radio listener or as a podcast listener, to come by and spend some time there at the DSC convention and spend a little time with some of their heroes, maybe like they are mine, with the guys from Stealth Vision and particularly with the Hornady group. And I've already talked to some of the Mossberg guys, and they're going to be there just to kind of roam around a little bit and visit. But it's going to be a fun event in so many different ways.
You betcha it will be. Yeah, different from Dallas because of the lack of room there at I guess the Omni. So that's good. The tradition is carrying on. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, the K-Valley Hutchinson is being torn down, and there's just not enough room to host and house the number of booths that will be at that Atlanta show. And of course, once they get finished with it, we'll be back in Atlanta. And I think you're talking, from Atlanta, it looks like it's going to be about a 5-year project. But all that good stuff is going to be going on, but we're off to a brand new year. We've got January, to really look forward to. I'm going to be going to Mexico, to Durango, to hunt Coues deer with a couple of DSC members, and get back from that. And then shortly thereafter, by golly, you and I'll be with Jeff Rice over on my place out there in West Texas. Do a late minute hunt kind of thing for both those, and may have a buck or two left out there to shoot as well too this year.
Yeah, that's always. Last year we had such a good time. I call that by then it's late February is when we went last year, and I know it'll be into February probably this year. But I called it. I said, "Okay, guys, this is our second opening day. Look at it like the opener of deer season." And we had the campfire going. You grilled some of your famous boned out chicken thighs over some hot mesquite coals, and man, I tell you, it was like reliving opening day out there. That's what our outdoor lifestyle is all about to me. You get. I don't think out in that country, you can go expecting to bring some venison home. There's you have a surplus of deer and the does, and some of the bucks need to still maybe take a buck or two. But I go into that with high hopes and high expectations of venison is what I do, Larry.
Well, and as we've talked about so many times, those deer out there in that western part of the state, they exist on forbs or weeds, if you will, and that little fillery weed or forage, it's some of the best deer forage there is. It just puts a flavor on those white-tailed deer out there that just are second to none as far as I'm concerned. So I got a feeling the last time I was out there, the deer all looked good, fat, and healthy, and we're going to bring back a pile of venison for that.
I know.
All the other things we're going to have planned for this 2025 year that we're into right now.
I've got one of them earmarked for some of the Kuby's salami, so make those little sticks of salami that I always bring along when we're together. Yep. I did a newspaper article recently about late season deer hunting. Of course, we have the muzzleloader season are coming right up here.
Right.
I'm going to try to get Tony Smotherman with CVA Muzzleloaders. Try to get him on talking some muzzleloader because our season I think it starts, I don't know, it's just a matter of a few days
pretty
now.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Right. It's usually right after the end of the regular whitetail deer season. And most of the places I'm hunting right now are on the managed land permit thing. So I've kind of gotten away from paying attention to when that last day is. But
I know.
I know you've got that coming up with Tony and with those muzzleloaders there. And I'm trying this here in January, and particularly in the next week, couple 3 weeks after I get back from Mexico, I'm going to be doing a little hunting with my Taurus handguns as well too. And probably spending some time up there on the cotton ranch doing that. And I'd love to shoot another doe up there. You've shot things with crossbows, and you've been an archery hunter for a long, long time. And I finally got a 10-point crossbow, and it's been a long time since I've hunted with anything that had a sharp point on the end of it that didn't go bang. And so I'm going to spend a little time out there trying to see if I can't maybe shoot a doe or a hog with one of those crossbows as well too.
You bet you that'll be good. It's kind of interesting. You remember a hog hunt that you were on? We were together, and you used an air gun. I shoot the bullets through the air guns, but you and some more guys, y'all had the air bolts through that Seneca Dragonclaw. I'll give you an update, Larry. The Seneca Dragonclaw, it's not the most powerful air gun, but it's quite capable of killing. It's legal for deer now. It's called the Seneca Dragonclaw 2. It's an increase in power, and but still, to me, it's not a centerfire rifle. I like it because I like to hunt up close. And so they have come out with a tactical Dragonclaw, and I just received one through the shipped in last week. Yeah, I put one of the AGM Global Vision, the Rattler scope, the thermal scope on it, and it's over at our buddy Ken the Shepherd's. We're going to shoot it in here probably later today, honestly, or earlier. Maybe next week. Hadn't planned it, but we got to zero that thermal scope. But it's tactical. It looks like I'm not. I have no problem with ARs. I didn't like the M16 when a million years ago when I was in the service. I liked an M14. I qualified with an M14, and I had to qualify with an M16, but I just didn't like it. I didn't like, and I just like a traditional gun. Well, this is an AR looking platform with an air gun, and it's light, but it's the same power as that Dragonclaw. It is that action with an AR type stock, basically. That's what it is. But I want to, for our TV show, A Sportsman's Life, that Jeff puts together, Jeff Rice does for us each week. I want to take that thing and zero it at 50 yards with the thermal scope on it, and then I want to get out at night. I'm going to do it and get Kenneth with a thermal, just the scope, and let him film, and then put a stalk on these hogs and get up there not 200 yards, but something like 30. Maybe 30, 50 yards, 60 yards maybe. You can get in pretty close on a dark night if you watch the wind. Just get in there and shoot one right behind the jaw and drop him. I think that would make a fun video,
Well, it'd make a fun hunt. I know that.
Oh
much.
Yeah, and maybe
I bet it'll be fun to watch too.
Yeah, well, I'll have Kenneth filming me through thermal shooting, and then me filming through the scope. So
exactly.
Jeff Rice can do some fun with that, Well, Larry, we are just about out of time. We always kind of scattergun, I call it, and talk about all kind of fun stuff. I do too, and I've had people say, it's not a lot of outdoor shows are kind of structured, and that's a good too. You can learn a lot of things in a structured show, but if they listen close, they may hopefully pick up a little bit of information and tips from somebody like yourself and me, who's been kicking around the outdoors for a long, long time, Larry. But I want to make sure and wish you and all of our friends a Happy New Year again,
Well, Happy New Year again to everybody, and look forward to seeing everybody that I can there at the DSC convention January 9th through 12th, coming up very quickly. Hope to see you there.
Folks, this segment is made possible by Ultrimatic Feeders. Go online to ultrimaticfeeders.com and check out the most awesome line of game feeders in the world. I've been using these things for 15 years, and I've got one that's been in the woods about 10 or 11 years. I forget exactly how long. Check them out, ultrimaticfeeders.com. Another thing I want to tell you about, VINEYARDMAX. The website is vineyardmax.net. They make an awesome line of game feeders, fish feeders. They're just an awesome product, but they also have a deer attractant. That's what I really want to tell you about. It's called Vineyard Max. It's made from dried, hammer-milled grape hulls and wheat bran, I think it is, or ground up wheat, and also some corn chops. So it's got stuff in it deer like. Plus, it's got that scent of grapes that we've used it. Larry and I've used it out in West Texas where a deer have never seen a grape and had them come in on it. So check that out, and the website again is vineyardmax.net. Friends, I want to tell you about an awesome camping destination, Wind Point Park on Lake Tawakoni. It's over on the far east side, kind of the northeast side of the lake. It's a pristine park. You can go there and view, I think they estimated a couple of hundred deer on that couple of hundred acres there. Cabins, beautiful RV park, fishing piers, docks. It's got everything you'd want in an outdoor destination. Check them out online at windpointparktx.com. Folks, this segment is made possible by Smokin Tex electric smokers that I've been using a long, long time, CatfishPro catfishing baits and catfish supplies, Ultrimatic Feeders, and AGM Global Vision, maker of the spotters and thermal scopes that I hunt with. Well, friends, many of you have probably heard my buddy Jeff Rice give some outdoor filming tips on our shows, and probably a bunch of you have watched A Sportsman's Life. That's the weekly outdoor-related show that we do. Jeff Rice, Larry Weissoon, and myself. Well, Jeff puts these shows together. He has been videoing most of his life, probably back as when he was a teenager, but he loves video, and he knows a lot about it. So I thought it'd be fun to get with Jeff, and a lot of you like to film your own outdoor programs, your events, things that you're doing. Maybe get some tips that'll help you. Jeff, thank you for being with us, buddy.
Oh, always glad to be here, Luke. Good morning to you, sir.
Yes, sir. I think, knowledge is golden, and there's all kind of, nowadays, what I consider pretty easy to learn ways to actually produce your videos that you do on, like YouTube. Our show, A Sportsman's Life, is on Carbon TV, Jeff, and I believe that's where most people watch it. But you also post it on YouTube each week, and that's kind of like an archival place, isn't it? YouTube, where it's be there forever,
yeah. Exactly. It's some place that's easy to find. People can easily find it, and it's a good platform out there that, of course, a lot of people post their videos out there, and of course, like you said, they're archived forever, so you can go back and watch things from way back when. So yeah, it's a great platform. But Carbon TV, a big streaming company, large. Organization, and of course our videos are out there, and yeah, they get watched quite frequently out there, so because we see the stats and the numbers, and it's all good. So fun stuff, my friend.
Oh, for sure. And folks, Carbon TV is simply carbontv.com. It doesn't cost you anything. And our show, A Sportsman's Life, is there every week. Jeff puts a new show up every week. We may not be shooting a 172 Boone and Crockett buck, or we may not be catching a 10-pound bass, but we try to portray the real outdoor life. You may see Jeff making hamburger from venison, or me using a night vision to stalk a hog, or Larry Weissoon over in New Zealand, somewhere, anywhere. So it's very varied, Jeff. And having Larry on, hopping over the globe, hunting everywhere, that's a good that's good to have like a Sweden hunt, and it's neat to have that kind of stuff thrown in with it. But that's just a small portion. Most of it is things that the majority of outdoor people can actually do. So it's a lot of fun to do it.
Well, when you and I started this thing, it was all about real world outdoors. It's nothing that we're not going to sugarcoat stuff. We're not going to be out hunting for 5 weeks to try to get that one shot. That's not about that. For us, it's real world. It's what happens. It's what we do. We have fun doing what we do, and we capture it on film, and we share it with the world. And to me, that's what it's all about.
It is, and really some of the, and don't expect us to be shooting 200-inch deer every time, and I get it. I used to outfit with a friend of mine up in northern Colorado, north of Steamboat Springs, for about 7 years. I was very active in that. We would get our camps together and everything, and we outfitted archery, elk, mostly elk hunts, but there were so many bear that the bear were a bonus. But But a good case in point, a lot of the hunters would come up, Jeff, and they'd watch the TV where you blow the bugle or the cow call, and the big bull runs up, and you put an arrow in him, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's very good entertainment, but it's not the real world. I think our buddy Larry Weissoon would be the first to agree with that. It's not real world hunting that you see, a lot of it that you see on TV. And a lot of the guys that had never hunted elk or really never been in the mountains hunting, you know, they would get after about 2 or 3 days of maybe you hear a bull over the mountain, or you have some cows come in, or a raghorn bull come in on you, you know, to the call or whatever. They begin to get disillusioned. They think, wait a minute, what's the matter here? We're supposed to see these big bulls. But that really drove the point home. But our shows, not to keep harping and bragging on our show, you won't see that on ours. If we were hunting elk, and trust me, if you or I got a cow elk, that would be a feature of the show. So,
absolutely.
Let's give some tips, Jeff. And folks, I've learned a lot from Jeff. Working with him about video. I actually very amateurishly, I filmed stuff all my life, video, but it was just family things, and sometimes a little hunting stuff, but not anything serious. But I've learned a lot. You don't have to spend an arm and a leg to get started with equipment, do you, Jeff?
No, you really don't. I mean, there's essential pieces to have for filming. Obviously, you need a camera.
Yep.
If someone asked me, which I've had many people ask me, Jeff, what kind of camera should I get? Don't break the bank, but get one that's going to give you some high definition. That's going to do the 16:9 aspect ratio. So you when you put it on a big screen TV, you can see it. It's good. It's clear. You can of course spend a lot of money if you want, but you don't need to. I've got some small Sony hand cameras, just handy cams, if you will, and the screen flips open. You can hit a record button, and it's high definition, and that does the trick. But the key for good video is always a tripod, and you don't have to go buy the best tripod. Just have a tripod with you and use it, because you get that slow motion, the movement. You don't get all the shaky as you're trying to film. Now, there's situations where you got to hand carry it and you got to hand film, and that's fine. You get good at it after you hold it for a while and you learn how to try to capture those shots. But a tripod, and then obviously a camera. And for us, a lot of times we might be in a tree hunting deer, and of course having the camera arms that's strapped to the tree and those type things are definitely an advantage to capturing the film. And it's kind of nice. I have like a little GoPro, and sometimes I'll put that GoPro on me, and then I have the big camera on the game out there in the that we're hunting or pursuing. And so if you do encounter a situation where you have an animal come in and it's one you're going to harvest, you've got the camera on you, you've got the camera on the animal, which that can be tricky at times too, because they're moving and you don't want to get busted while they're there. But you set yourself up for success, and then you capture it all on film. And I tell you what, it's just. And then when you have the more film you have, I always say the more film you have, the better. But when you're out there filming, let's say you have a deer come in, you film it. Maybe it's not the one you want, but having the video of that deer is something you can add to your video. Like you might be sitting there and an owl flies up in a tree and it's sitting there looking at you. Film that. Yeah. Or you're sitting there and there's a caterpillar going up the side of a tree. Get a close up on it. The other day I filmed a praying mantis out at my place. It was just kind of walking along. I'm like,
I saw it.
Check that out. Yeah. So it's little stuff like that, because when you put a video out there, if you throw a video out and your audience is watching that, there's a rule out there. And that rule is, if you can, add in some things every 30 seconds or so, maybe a clip, like Larry had a hunt where he was hunting a white-tailed deer, and he had an owl fly up in a tree. I think that was up at the Cotton Ranch, and he filmed that. And it's just so nice to have that, because he's sitting in the blind, there's deer out there, and then was able to take that owl and slap it in there to where it looks like, he's hunting, and then of course it looks like the owl's hunting too. And it makes for great video, but it's capturing the little stuff, leaves blowing in the wind. Maybe there's some tall grasses, blowing or something. It's just little stuff like that. If it's just 5 or 10 seconds, just capture that, because you can add that into your video, and it just makes it much more pleasant to watch,
Yeah, right. Someone that builds the show like you do, it gives you more components to work with. For instance, along those lines, I am planning, I guess I've been an old outdoor writer for so long that before I even go hunting or fishing, I'm thinking about the end product, how I'm going to describe it with words. Well, I've learned, it just seems natural to me to think of that before trying to get a video to you even. And I'll roll it around in my mind and how I want it to unfold. And maybe it won't unfold. It probably won't unfold just like I want it to, but I'll build around that. For instance, I've got a thermal night hunt planned that has potential to be a very interesting segment to our show. There's a couple of good-sized boar over at my buddy Kenneth Shepard's place, which is about a mile from me, showing up about 8:30 the last couple of nights. Well, I hunt a lot with everything really, but big bore air guns. I've got a new Seneca Dragon Claw Tactical. Looks sort of like an AR type instead of the wooden stock. And Jeff, I like this. It's very light and it's just as powerful as the regular Seneca Dragon Claw 2. Anyway, I've got the Rattler, AGM Global Vision Rattler scope on it, and I've got a spotter. So the plan is, and if it came to fruition, it would make an awesome segment. Get Kenneth with the spotter to film me with the rifle and the thermal. He can, and it'll all be in thermal. The probably black hot would be the format that we use. But you would see a guy, me, with the rifle, which in the thermal it would come out very clear, stalking downwind and see some hogs or a hog, and then I will have the thermal camera going with the scope, the thermal scope. I can see how you could work with that, and if I actually get in close enough for I'd want to get within like 40 yards probably to make sure I can knock him down, and that would have potential, I would think, to make an interesting segment. Jeff,
definitely.
Yeah, but that's my next project. Well, I hope you've helped some folks. Get you a camera, and you can easily learn for starters to download to YouTube. That's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, I would say one more tip is, try to make it a story, some sort of a story of your video. Do a little talking. Don't be afraid to get, you can always voice over on stuff if you need to. But while you're filming, if you can, tell the story. Have an opener to your video and maybe a closure to your video. And then when you have the time, sometime down the road, if you get into editing or someone edits the video for you, they'll have that. And it really makes for much better video. And it's just fun stuff to do. And I can't wait to see the thermal hog hunt coming, because I know you'll get that done, and it'll be good stuff.
I'm all over it. Well, Jeff, thanks very much for being with us, buddy.
Yes, and have a great Happy New Year to you, buddy.
Oh, yeah. I'm getting actually their next caller, if you hear that beeping in the background, calling in. So I guess I better answer that phone, folks. See you soon, Jeff. Thanks you very much, buddy.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Folks, let's talk a little outdoor cooking. Let me tell you about an electric smoker that I've been using for 15 years, I guess. Smokin Tex electric smokers. If you're tired of staying up all night keeping that wood fire burning when you're barbecuing, give Smokin Tex a try. They're made to last a lifetime. You can check them out at SmokinTex.com. That's SMOKINTEX.com. Well, friends, Mr. Larry Weissoon is going to tell you about the finest hunting optics that we have ever found.
Look, these are called Stealth Vision. They come from Crockett, Texas. Dr. John McCall developed them. They're 34-millimeter tubes as opposed to the narrower tubes, so more light transmission. they have a little green light that comes on. That scope is leveled because that's when you want to pull the trigger. They have an optional lighted reticle as well too, and a whole lot of other products. And folks can learn more about them by going to stealthvision.com.
And for seasonings, anything to do with outdoor cooking, all kind of jerky seasonings, sausage seasonings, Butcher Packer Supply. That's butcherpackersupply.com. I think the website is butcher-packer.com. Friends, this segment is made possible by Platinum Cadillac and Chevrolet in Terrell, Texas. Stop by and visit with my buddy, Mr. Justin Rudd, and his team of experts, and let them put you in a new Chevy pickup or a Cadillac or whatever you might be in the market for. Also, the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma. Check them out at ChoctawHuntingLodge.com. Also made possible by Pyramyd Air, your one-stop shop for everything airgun related. Well, folks, our next guest is a good friend of mine, Mr. Matt Burgess. Now, Matt, if you look up hunting guide in the dictionary, Matt's picture should be there. Matt, I knew you'd be chuckling, but it's the truth. Matt guides up in Alaska, around the Bristol Bay area for big old grizzly bear and other stuff. And then there in Montana, where you live. So I thought it would be fun to talk. I just got a pair of the binoculars from Stealth Vision that has a rangefinder built in. And to be honest with you, I've had some good binoculars all my adult life. I've never had a pair like these that's got the rangefinder built in. I mean, it takes hunting to a little bit different level, but let's talk hunting a little bit first, Matt. Now you've wrapped up your guiding season up in Alaska, right? That's all been done a month or two ago.
Right. Yep. I finished late September and went right into elk season. I finished that in right before Thanksgiving, and so I've had some time off here until our show season starts. We'll be traveling around doing all the sportsman hunting shows all around the United States through the month of January, and a couple shows in February and a couple shows in March. And then I go right into spring bear. I'll show up there back in Alaska at the end of March to do spring bear on snowmobiles.
Oh boy, now that'll be fun. And folks, of course, it is the new year. It's early in January when you're listening to this, whether it's on our great radio stations or the podcast now that we do every week. The same thing combined, the 4 segments. So off the top of your head, and I won't hold you to the exact places and dates, but what's coming up in January where Stealth Vision, folks, is the optics that I use to hunt with. Matt is with Stealth Vision, so you're going to hear us talking about Stealth Vision a lot. It's hands down the best hunting scopes, binoculars, the best optics that I've ever used. That's a fact. So what cities, towns would you be in January at the sports shows?
Yeah, so we'll be at the Dallas Safari Club. That's January 9th through the 12th. So that'll be coming up here next week, I guess. Yep. And then we've got the Wild Sheep Foundation show in Reno, Nevada. That's January 16th through the 18th. We'll be at the SHOT Show in Las Vegas, and that's January 21st through the 24th. Now, we're splitting up our time there between the SHOT Show, and we'll also, several of us will be going from Las Vegas to the Safari Club SCI convention. That's in Nashville, Tennessee, and that is January 22nd through the 25th. And then we're also doing the Salt Lake City, the Western Hunting Expo. That's February 13th through the 16th. That's also going to be another really great show. And then we've got several other shows. I would tell everybody, follow us on at stealthvision.com, and we'll be posting our show dates and booths there as well for the season. So if we happen to be in your area, you can swing by and check out our products and what we're about.
Folks, I met Matt, and along with Dr. McCall and Joe Cunningham and Larry Weissoon, who's been a part of this show for 18 years. This is our 18th year, Matt, that Larry's been with me.
Wow.
Here on Catfish Radio. Yes, sir. So, but I met all these guys on a hot day back in the summer. Went down to Crockett, Texas, where Stealth Vision is headquartered, Dr. McCall there. And I had an absolute ball. These guys had me shooting out to 1,200 yards. It would take me 30 minutes to tell the funny story that the way it really happened. But everybody else had shot. I'd hanging back to the last intentionally because I wanted to make sure I could pick out the right target. If they said shoot that 600-yard target, I wanted to make sure I could. So Joe said, "Okay, Luke, it's your time." Okay, I'm ready. You want to start out at 400? I said, "No, 1,200." And I had no doubt that if I put those crosshairs with that Stealth Vision scope, I'd bang that target at 1,200. It's not rocket science. The magic happens in that scope and the setting that the dials and all. But he said, 1,200? I said, oh, yeah. The reason I picked 1,200 is because I knew where it was. I could see it. It was sticking up high in the back. So I banged three shots. You can't, without a spotting scope, you don't know where you hit. I hit the target 3 times, but I hope those guys didn't think I was trying to show out. I just wanted to make sure I knew what target I was shooting. Matt,
You did exceptional. We had fun that day.
We had a ball. So that's where I was introduced hands-on to Stealth Vision, friends. And you go online to stealthvision.com, check out their stuff. This is not something you're going to find on a package store discount aisle. This is quality optics, I can tell you that. And what I'm excited about now, I'm old hat with the scope. I've been hunting with it all season. You first you have to know the range. Say you're shooting at, to me, honestly, 500 yards is a long way to be hunting whitetail deer. It really is. But once you got to know the range, the binoculars that Stealth Vision offers now. And I had a chance to, I've got some now, but I had a chance to look at those back in the summer there at the headquarters in Crockett, Texas. But you look out there and bingo, you range it out to, I don't know how far they go. They went farther than I could see there when we were doing it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They'll range out. Those are the 8x40s. We call it the Packer model, just because they're super lightweight. They don't weigh hardly anything, and it has the nice ED glass inside of it. So it's the difference, Luke. I tell everybody between these binoculars and say our competitors, these binoculars actually have good glass in them. So what happens is, our competition typically when they build binoculars, they put cheaper glass because of the rangefinder capability. These have the same glasses our binoculars do, the same glasses our scopes do. It's the high end, really the best glass you can get in the world. And so you can use them just as binoculars, and they got a really clear picture. Or if you want to range out, we guarantee the range out to 2,000 yards. That's a big deal. I've handled every rangefinder you can ever imagine, and I've seen them fail multiple times. Just, any type of weather condition, they get too cold, they get this and that. We took these, and literally when we first were in the design phase, we would freeze them and for long periods of time, get them out of the freezer, let's say freeze them for 24 hours, and then they would hold range. They would still hold range. So we knew they were, the rangefinder capability was just perfect. And so when we were doing our research and development side of it, and yeah, they work great. 2,000 yards, no problem. We have even had them out to 3,000 yards, but our guarantee is 2,000 yards.
Well, in a hunting situation, just picture this, friends. You're just say you're sitting looking at a big open area, even in Texas, in a deer stand, mind you. Well, you've got your binoculars. You think you see a good buck out there. Maybe he's 600 yards away, whatever. And then but you don't know if he's 480 or 620. You don't know how far out he is. And long distances makes a huge difference in trajectory. I don't care what you're shooting. So then you put your binoculars down, you get your little rangefinder, and you try to find him in that. And maybe you're lucky enough to get an estimate on how far he is. Here, you've got your binoculars up, and you click the button, and bingo, you can see the buck. You know what buck you're looking at. You know you might want to shoot him. You know how far it is. Then you pick your scope up, and if it's 525 yards with a stealth vision scope, you just simply dial that in on the top, and dial it in and bang. There's a little green light that which is a factor. I've learned that too. The little light there, it's more or less a level, if you will. It shows when the scope is level. And a canted scope maybe doesn't make a lot of difference if you're shooting 200 yards in, but it definitely makes a difference way out there, doesn't it, Matt?
Absolutely. Yeah, the anti-cant system, the green light technology, the internal bubble level, that's all patented technology that Dr. McCall developed, over a several year period, coming up with the best designs, that you can imagine. And, developing that to where when you are shooting long distance, it's a repeatable shot with our scopes. And I used it all last, bear season, brown bear season in Alaska, elk season. We had the opportunity to shoot a lot of animals this year or last year, and we had just a lot of success with that. People that didn't have that confidence that maybe it just met, or that flew out in the middle of nowhere, left their family and their job and all this stuff. I feel so confident I can give them the best opportunity behind one of our systems that it is unmatched. And I've proven that over and over again.
You have. When I met you, I remember you telling me something. And I've done a little guiding, not in the remote areas like you're talking about, but in some civilization up in the mountains in Colorado, places like that. A little, nothing like what you've done. But I remember you telling me you finally found something that the equipment is so important. Once somebody books a hunt, he's, grizzly bear, whatever, and it's a hunt of a lifetime. And then to chance that equipment failing on you, that means everything to a hunter. So hats off to the, to what, stealth vision. And we're about out of time, but I'd like to mention this, friends. If you're interested in some quality optics, I know this for a fact. They have down in Crockett, Dr. McCall has a ranch out there with a range set up. It's a good spot to shoot all the different yardages, to learn firsthand what these things will do. The binoculars and the scopes. They also sell custom rifles that'll get you a half minute of angle guaranteed, which is something else too, that are the combo. But just to learn, you guys, you have little schools, for lack of a better term, Matt, and you can, get groups together and get guys together. And that's
Luke, I wanted to mention to you as well, in May, we're going to have a training. We're going to have 2 different schools in May that you can go to our website at stealthvision.com, and you can get all the information on that. And we're doing real life. So we'll do long range shooting, real life hunting scenarios. So we call it a hunter prep course. So if you're getting ready to go on a really important hunt, that would be the course you would want to go to, because we actually will mimic different angles, up in the mountains, shooting up, shooting down, shooting in the flats, getting on the ground, getting set up, all those things. So we'll go to our website and we'll have those dates up here in the next week for those events.
Awesome, Matt. So basically all our friends need to remember to check out, to learn more, is stealthvision.com. It's all right there, right?
You got it.
Matt, thanks a lot for being with us, buddy, and hope to spend some time with you this year. Happy New Year. Let's make it the best year we've ever had. What do you say?
Happy New Year, Luke. Thanks so much for having me on.
For about the past decade, I've been hunting editor for Airgun Hobbyist magazine. I think the only magazine devoted strictly to airgun shooting and hunting in the country. Well, in that length of time, I've learned quite a bit about big bore airguns and smaller calibers too. a spot to go to that if you're interested in air guns, you need to know about Pyramyd Air. The website is PYRAMYD, PyramydAir.com. They have anything and everything you need, from the guns themselves, the big bores or the smaller calibers, to the accessories. Just remember PyramydAir.com, and there's a number when you get on the website if you need to call and talk to somebody. Give them a buzz, and they can fill you in on little details that you might need to know about shooting or hunting with big bore air guns. While you're on the website there, I'd like you to check out the big bore air gun that I've done a great deal of hunting with. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw, 50 caliber, pressures up to 3,000 psi, and it looks like a conventional rifle. Wooden stock. I think you'll like the appearance, and I know you'll like the performance. It shoots not only bullets, but also air bolts as well, tipped with a broadhead. Check it out. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw.
The snowflakes fall as winter comes, and time just seems to fly.
Friends, this segment is brought to us by CVA Muzzleloaders. In my opinion, the very best muzzleloaders in the world, the ones that I shoot. You can check them out online, CVA.com. AGM Global Vision, maker of the Rattler and the Adder that I use. You can check them out online too, agmglobalvision.com. Kuby's Wild Game Processing and Kuby's Restaurant in Dallas. And VINEYARDMAX, maker of some awesome deer attractant and some very fine game feeders and fish feeders, located down in Nacogdoches, Texas. Check them out at vineyardmax.net. Well, friends, we have had a lot of hunting talk. Mr. Matt Burgess up in Montana there, he guides up in way up north in Alaska and all over. Enjoyed visiting with Matt. I've got another great friend, Mark Balette, who I've known for, 30 years, long time. I've hunted with Mark a lot and spent a lot of time in the outdoors with him. Mark is, in my opinion, one of the top 5 hunters I've ever known in my life. But he's also a great friend. Mark, Happy New Year to you, buddy.
Happy New Year, Luke. Hope everything is well.
Yep, all is going good. We're going to make this a good year. That's my goal. Not that last year wasn't, but we're gonna make plans to be out and about, hunting and fishing, maybe even more than last year. Mark, I've seen a lot of changes in hunting in my lifetime. Let's say a lot of changes. But folks, now Mark was one of the first people that I know, and he lives in eastern part of Texas. In Trinity County, but he was one of the first persons that I knew back in the 80s to high fence or fence in an area of heavy cover and stock it with wild hogs, not that there weren't probably already a few in there, but offer like day hunts, archery only back in those days for hogs. But and Mark still has a large area, several hundred acres in heavy cover in East Texas for exotics and hogs and other, all kind of different animals. But Mark, things have changed a great deal since the 80s when you first started I think we were hunting about 80 acres of low fence for hogs. And I'm going to tell you, I remember those days back then, and you had to want to do it. It was no setting duck type hunt, was it?
Oh, by no means. They were that was a challenge, and it wasn't like walking through a cleared, manicured forest either. It was pretty rough and pretty heavy.
It was the hogs. If what clearing was done, the hogs did it. But so hunting, something that I've noticed in hunting. Now, I began bow hunting with you back in those days. I don't know, I've lost track, 25 years ago maybe. I watched you shoot a beer can at 40 yards with a bow of the day. I don't even remember what kind you had. And I said, wait a minute. I thought this was going to be a whole lot, just archery bow hunting going to be a whole lot more tougher than this. If he can do that, I bet I could learn to hit a can at 20 yards, and that's how I got into bow hunting. that was a pivotal moment. You probably remember that if you think back. I don't know.
Oh, I remember exactly. I even know where the spot is.
I do too. There's a little gully there. Yeah, yeah, I do too. I remember that spot. And I thought, well, I bet this rascal can teach me how to. I don't want to, at 20 yards or close range like I want to hunt. And sure enough, I got a bow, and Mark set it up. It was a 52-pound max, as I remember, maybe 53 pounds. And you set it up for me, and I was immediately hitting pretty close, within a pie plate, at 20 yards. And then it didn't take long, even back with those days, the bows in those days, to get pretty good with it, And then I killed my first buck. I can remember it like yesterday, back behind what is now your hunting lodge back there. Rushed out from work. I was a surveyor back in those days, and jumped in the truck and made it down to Trinity County. I don't think I even saw you. You had me set up where I knew what to do. Jumped on the four-wheeler, climbed up in that tree stand, and there was a trail coming under a fence. I could still hear that buck squeaking that fence. I get up in the stand. I thought, wait a minute, where's my release? Back at the four-wheeler. So I run back and get in there. That's been a long time ago, Mark. But I remember, 5 point. It was probably a 3-year-old buck looking back. But he would have always been what we call today a management buck or a cull. He come under that fence, and he turned broadside at 18 yards, and I just shot it like I've been shooting that 3D target. He ran 51 yards, and I saw it. And from that point on, I never doubted the efficiency, of a bow. But here's what I wanted to bring out. I'm seeing a lot of people today in ranks of our ranks in hunters, knocking this, knocking that. I wouldn't hunt with this. I do this. I am of the opinion, and I've watched it for decades, we better all kind of stick together. I mean, yeah, it's harder to hunt it's more challenging, put it that way, to harvest game with a bow than it is with a centerfire rifle or a muzzleloader or a big war air gun. But we all better work together, Mark, if we're gonna keep this hunting tradition alive. That's my thoughts. What do you think?
It is, and I agree with you, and I see that. I think a lot of it is just more of like a competition between the people. Hopefully, if it ever came to something that we needed to stick together, they would set that competition aside. But yeah, people are definitely, back when you started with your bow, and we were just proud when somebody else had a bow. It wasn't no competition about we were going. Yeah. We had a chance to get another season and then go hunting. Yep,
exactly right. And I remember I shot for 6 months, almost daily. I mean, I got ready. I did it right. I had a good instructor. You got me off on the right foot, but I did my part and practiced. So when the moment of truth, when that old buck come under that wire fence, I heard it squeak. I just positioned myself. I shoot a bow with my left hand, left arm. And I positioned myself. I drew the bow right away. I knew what it was. That did it for me. But you've grown a lot, Mark. Your business has grown a lot from those days, and I remember those days. I was with you a lot of it. Now you've got several hundred acres in the same vicinity. They're out from Groveton in Trinity County, folks. That's East Texas. And you've got our old camp house is now a very nice lodge, and you offer what I consider very affordable hunts and lodging too, like hog hunts, and then you've got it well stocked with exotics. One big change, Mark, that you've seen, you told me, is the meat hunts, the bigger critters that fill a freezer, right?
Yes, those have become really popular. When I say big animals, we're talking, bison, water buffalo, Watusi. They've become really popular, and they're, for the price, it is a true meat hunt. You're getting a lot of meat for the money. Some of the doe prices, they've gotten pretty expensive, and people are leaning, to more of the, how much meat am I going to get for an animal that's not as much as a small deer. Right. And like the Watusi, that's I guess an African, is that right? A breed of bovine, Yes.
From
got
Africa.
The really, really big horns.
Yep, and then the zebu, which we've taken a couple of those in years past. Excellent meat. I mean, it's beef. It's not your marbled beef. It's obviously grass fed, but a couple of them years back we took, and you kept some of the meat yourself, and I did too. But that's a great way, and it's what you're eating. That's for dang sure. And I really think it's more healthy, Mark.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's lean, and I tell a lot of people you got to treat it more like venison or something like that. It's not a store-bought meat, not gonna like you have the marbling and all that in there.
Yeah.
But I have never had anybody complain. They've all absolutely loved it, and most of the time they come back and want more, and I'm struggling trying to find enough of them.
Exactly, to keep it stocked. Now, one thing about venison, for sure, and I learned this. I used to think, well, fat is good. Beef fat is good, pork fat is good, venison fat is no good. That's where, and I remember back when I really didn't have anybody to teach me a lot of these things that I learned. I kind of did it on my own, but that's one thing you want to do with venison for sure is trim it well, don't you?
Oh, yes, for sure. And, you got to have some of the fat in there for keeping it moist and not, keep it from drying out. And I use both beef fat or pork fat. I'm happy with both of them.
Yeah, you do need that to make good sausage. That's a fact. Well, Mark, I did want to get with you. I haven't had you on our radio show in a long time. This is now a podcast, iHeart and Apple and all those places. But first and foremost, it's a real radio show. People are listening on the real radio. But they're the same each weekend. It also becomes a podcast, outdoor or Catfish Radio with Luke Clayton and friends. And anyway, I want to wish you a Happy New Year, Mark, down at B&C Outfitters. And the website to learn more about Mark's place is EastTexasExotics.com. EastTexasExotics.com. You can go there, and it's a good website. They can learn a lot about what you do right there, can't they, Mark?
Yes, not all the information is always up to date as far as pricing because animal prices do fluctuate, but all the information is there. You can see a ton of pictures to look at, see the property, see the camp house. So it'll give you a good idea of what we have.
Well, Happy New Year to you, Mark. Thanks for being with us for a little bit here.
Well, Happy New Year, Luke. Take care.
Folks, that about wraps our show up for this week. I've enjoyed being with you, and I hope you've had a good time, too. This segment was made possible by AGM Global Vision, maker of the Rattler and the Adder, two awesome thermal scopes that I use for all my night hunting. Check out AGM, all the products that they have there online, agmglobalvision.com. And, folks, we're also brought to you by the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma, located about, 45 minutes west of Hugo, Oklahoma, owned by the Choctaw Nation. It's about 45,000 acres of awesome mountain, country, hills, valleys, loaded with game. Lots of eastern turkey, and they do eastern turkey hunts if you're looking for a spot to hunt turkey in the spring. Also, I want to remind you about the Seneca 50 caliber Dragon Claw that shoots bullets and pellets. And by pellets, I'm talking about 200 and 210 grain lead, chunks of lead. It's a big bore air gun that I use. Check out the Seneca Dragon Claw there at PyramydAir.com.